thank you to everyone who commented on my first video, Blender 30-day challenge. Thanks to you, I gained the motivation to take on the next Unreal Engine challenge. However, I immediately hit a wall. Just starting up Unreal Engine on my Mac Mini took an incredibly long time, and I could hardly get even the sample projects to run properly, so I was about to give up. But when I changed the quality settings to low from the engine settings, it started to run fairly smoothly. Now I can start, so let's get going. Day 1. I found this interesting tutorial video on YouTube, so I decided to follow it. First, I got an amazing map from the Free for the Month category on the Epic Games Marketplace. Next, I generated a girl character based on AI-generated illustrations using Tripo AI to create the 3D model. I then added bones and animations using Mixamo. There are so many animations to choose from. It's quite fun just doing that. Finally, I imported and placed the character in Unreal Engine. Wow, the animations are already attached. I added some lighting to illuminate the character and then set up the camera movements with keyframes. And there you go, it's complete. Oh, but Unreal Engine has so many settings. Day 2. When I thought about making a game with Unreal Engine, I was prepared for it to take several years, but I found this amazing tutorial, so I decided to follow it. Yes, I created the foundation of something that looks like a game. It's just a game where a goblin runs and falls. But even this is fun. I didn't use a sample project. I started from an empty new project, placed the stage, placed the model, and built it with blueprint nodes. I'm using the stages and 3D models provided in the tutorial. Day 3. Continuing from yesterday's game tutorial, I'm somehow managing to follow the wonderful tutorial and make progress. And once I was able to replace the character with one I prepared myself, it suddenly became a lot more fun. So far, it's really easy. It's great that I can create such games without having to write code myself, especially this bird model, which I modeled during my recent Blender 30-day challenge and is completely original, so I was really happy to be able to move this character within the game. Still, Unreal Engine really has a lot of parameters, and just understanding the blueprints is quite challenging. Day 4. I equipped the character with an axe. This, like the bird character, was something I made during my Blender 30-day challenge. The 3D model of the axe seemed quite rough, but since the character is also rough, it fits perfectly in this case. I also used the animation montage feature to add effects and sound to the animation. It's fun because you can easily adjust the timing like in video editing software. However, when I set it so that the attack animation montage plays with a left click, the attack animation started looping endlessly. Of course, I don't know how to fix this at the moment. I tried many things to the point of getting a headache, but I couldn't solve it, so I decided to go without the attack animation for now. When you start customizing the tutorial, you can get caught in a confusing loop, so it's probably best to follow the tutorial exactly at first. Day 5. I created a coin that disappears when the player picks it up. I would like the remaining time to increase when a coin is collected, but I don't know how to do that yet. Making 3D games is fun, but I feel lonely because there's no one to consult with. I also learned how to generate particles using the Niagara system. It makes the visuals more spectacular, but it can be heavy on processing, so it's important not to overuse it. I made it possible to perform a double jump, increasing the airtime, which made the game more exhilarating. As for the axe attack animation, I couldn't figure out how to stop the repeat, so I decided to remove the axe altogether and make the game look more peaceful. When I tried to customize the tutorial a bit, it ended up with bugs like the life going into the negatives and the time not resetting, and I don't know how to fix them yet. Still, it's fun for me to play. I've improved enough with keyboard controls to reach the goal. I created the coins sound effect using MetaSound. Unreal Engine even has a synthesizer. I composed the background music for the game using Udio AI. Turning on the shadows increases the realism. Now, I can say that this is almost a complete sample game. Day 6. The obstacle course game from yesterday is now complete, so I started working on a new map, called a level in Unreal Engine. I used the Tokyo City set, which is available as a free asset this month, May 2024, for the background. Just putting a character in and making it run around gives it a game-like appearance. So I modeled a new character with Tripo, added animations with Mixamo, and imported it. But it was quite challenging. If the shoes or legs stick together during modeling, the animations won't work properly, so I edited the illustration with Photoshop's Puppet tool and then converted it to 3D, which worked well. A model of this level could be made with Blender, but since this is a 10-day challenge, it's a short-term project. Therefore, I'm skipping whatever I can. If needed, I can replace things later, so I should aim for completion first. I wanted to implement a conversation system, so I created a UI for it. However, even just this took a lot of effort, and I don't have the time to make a game that progresses through conversations right now. Adding sound effects should help create the game's atmosphere. With 4 days left, I also want to try creating an original map. So far, I can say that I haven't fully understood blueprints. Day 7. Following a tutorial, I expanded the Asset City map by adding an adjacent area and creating a mountain. I had never used sculpting in Blender, but I tried creating terrain with sculpting in Unreal Engine for the first time. Making mountains is easy. I also added water to create a sea. The water plugin in Unreal Engine is amazing. It's impressive. However, controlling the water volume nicely was challenging. I textured the mountain to make it a sand mountain. Even just this creates a liberating world atmosphere. Of course, the fantastic base city asset helps a lot. I then placed my original bird character and made it run around. Even just this is quite fun. I created emerald gems instead of coins to add a game feel. However, even with the resolution set to the lowest, the processing is heavy, making it difficult to test play properly. Day 8. Blueprints really give me a headache, so I didn't feel like working on them today. Instead, I focused on creating the atmosphere. The Tokyo map asset is really amazing, but I felt something was missing. I realized that vending machines, which are always present in Japanese streets, were absent. So, I made an ultra-low polygon vending machine by just applying a texture to a cube in Blender and placed it in the scene. I also created a park in a corner of the city asset. I set the wave sound to attenuate based on the distance from the sea. I found a free 3D model of a torii gate and placed it in the sea. I also added a new girl character. I added BGM created with Udio and slightly edited with Logic Pro. I tried making sakura petals fall using Niagara particles, but it didn't seem very noticeable. I couldn't figure out how to switch the conversation UI for each character, so I couldn't make conversations with other characters. After all, without understanding blueprints, there are many features that I have ideas for, but cannot implement. Therefore, I need to learn the basics of blueprints. Day 9. Japanese streets also need traffic signs. Since there were no signs, I created and placed them using Blender. These are simple objects with image textures, so they could certainly be made in Unreal Engine as well. As a Japanese person, seeing street signs somehow makes me feel at ease. However, this map asset is truly excellent. Even the fluttering of cherry blossoms and leaves is animated by default. When you place cherry blossoms, the season is automatically set. In Tokyo, Japan, cherry blossoms bloom from late March to mid-April, so this world automatically becomes spring during that period. However, my character is wearing a short-sleeved summer uniform. This is a bit odd because, in Japan, students' uniforms switch to summer attire on June 1st. Of course, some people start wearing summer uniforms from May, but during cherry blossom season, they generally still wear winter uniforms. However, in my game world, due to the effects of global warming, it's already hot, so the characters wear short sleeves even during cherry blossom season. That said, I didn't make much progress today. With only 1 day left, I thought about the final packaging and tried various things, but it seems I can't export a Windows executable file from a Mac. This means that if you want to try this game, you won't be able to play it unless you have a Mac. That's unfortunate. Or is there a way? My head is starting to hurt, but with only 1 day left, I can push through. Hang in there, me. Day 10. Alright, let's get motivated. It's finally the last day of the challenge. It's important to get up and move your body because sitting in front of the computer for too long can make you feel stiff. Let's add another new character. You often see people dancing in parks, right? I'll add one more person. When the illustrations are nicely transparent, the AI model also turns out better. Pressing the refine button would make the model even nicer, but it would also increase the data size. So I'll leave it as it is. I placed her at the edge of the sea. As usual, I still don't understand how to separate conversations UI for each character, so there are no lines. She's probably saying something like, "It's dangerous, don't go any further." Somehow I felt like adding wings, so I followed a tutorial and created a simple wing model in Blender. Since I also wanted to add animations, I made a flapping animation in Blender and imported the animated wings into Unreal Engine. This took quite some time, but it worked out well. I attached the wings to the player character, and they look great. I wanted the wings to move only when jumping, but I couldn't get the settings right, so they keep flapping continuously. There are many ideas I can't realize without understanding the basics of blueprints, but staring at the blueprint screen is quite tough. Will I ever get used to it? With wings, you feel like you could fly as high as you want, right? So, I enable double jumps and increase the height they can reach. When doing a normal jump, I couldn't get back after crossing the sea, so I built a big jump platform in front of the Torii Gate. However, with the double jump, I can cross the sea, but using the jump platform allows you to overlook the city. If I add VR functionality, would it be possible to experience the same viewpoint? Alright, the basic stage is now complete. All that's left is implementing the finer details of the system, but I'm truly exhausted after these 10 days. Even during my previous Blender challenge, I almost broke down on the 11th day, so it seems 10 days is the right duration for me. If I want to continue and complete the game with Unreal Engine, I'll need to find a teammate who is strong in system implementation and coding. I realized during the Blender and this challenge that I'm better at abstract tasks rather than concrete ones. In other words, I excel at creating atmospheres and world building. It would be more reliable to rely on someone else for the system aspects. With May ending and June beginning, I'll conclude this Unreal Engine 10-day challenge. Even in this short period, I felt new possibilities, and the potential of Unreal Engine is limitless. What can be achieved with it is truly amazing. It seems like an unreal world can be realized. I'm not sure if I can get that far. Anyway, just a month and a half ago, I knew nothing about Unreal Engine or Blender. Through this limited time focused challenge, I was able to try something new and create something personally satisfying. The only problem is that I don't even have a proper computer environment to play the completed game. I can't export it for Windows on my Mac, but for those who want to play it on a Mac, I'll make the sample game available for download. If I get a high-performance machine and good teammates, I might take on Unreal Engine again. Now, what should I challenge myself with next? Thank you for watching this video. If you got something out of this video, please leave a comment or give it a thumbs up. See you again. P.S. If you want to make a game with me or want me to make one, please get in touch.